that's ISO. Rack it up, I got a bit of the bank to make me a safe house. Shake it up, she got her hands on her knees and she bringing the cake out. Smoke it up, I got some gas, some packs, I'm up in the greenhouse. Ball it up,
Hello. There was a little delay there at the beginning. And welcome to another episode of the Keeping It Real podcast, starring me, Matteo Lucio, and my mother, Julia Lucio. How are you doing today?
I've been feeling under the weather. I don't know if it's the weather, but
I've heard it
but
has
I'm
been very
still
cold out.
yeah, and so much snow. But I've been on a high since the weekend, so it's good. And I was seeing Jennifer in backstage, and she's like dancing over.
Well, with that, I guess I can just say it. We have a special guest for today's episode. So this past weekend, we went to see the Altsville Film Fest here in Cornwall. And we saw 4 great films. And today we have the pleasure of being joined by the chair of the Film Fest, who's also on the committee of the Altsville Theater, Jennifer Francis.
Hey, Jennifer.
Hello. It's so great to see both of you again.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you both doing?
Good. You're keeping
Good.
warm?
Yes.
It's been very cold out.
It has been. I'm ready for summer, I have to say.
It's perfect weather to get under the blanket and watch a great movie, though.
Watch
Yeah.
movies. Yep, that's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, I got under the blanket a couple days ago and I watched Kinds of Kindness directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. It was a great movie. I was just under my bed the whole time. It was
Under your bed?
under the blankets, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have to first say I really appreciated that you guys both came to all 4 movies. It was nice to get like a full experience of the entire film fest, and I really appreciated that you guys came to all 4 of the movies.
I'm so glad we didn't miss any of them.
And I was debating on the Sunday because I was like, we were putting out The Seeker and it had to be out by Monday morning. So the weekend was like, I was going to see a movie. I was coming home. I was doing The Seeker. And then I was going to see a movie. I was coming home. I was doing The Seeker.
Busy.
So the Sunday I was like, I was really debating going. And I'm so glad I went.
That one was amazing.
It was a good end to it. And we kind of timed it like that, like, the highs and the lows of, the emotion and the excitement. And we thought that we had timed the movies really, really well.
Mm-hmm. You might have seen, though, on Sunday, we did dash out before the discussion because, like my mom was saying, we were very busy. So we stayed for the discussion for the other 3, but that one...
Yeah. It was very emotional. I have to say, it was very emotional. We had a lot of great feedback, and I really I poured my heart into this event. And when I was asked to be involved in it, at first, I thought, yeah, we're going to pick some movies, and there was hundreds of hours of planning that went into it. And I really could not have done it without the vision of Brittany Waldriff, the general manager at Altsville Theater. She comes from an event coordinating and fundraising background. And, Friday night was her baby, and that was all her vision. I have to admit, I'm a very visual person, but I really struggled to see the outcome of what this was going to look like and feel like, because I had never really taken anything on to this capacity. And with the help of our committee and our board of directors, and our sponsors, I couldn't have been more pleased with how it came together. Obviously, if it had been totally sold out, I would have been more pleased. But aside from that, we had excellent ticket sales. We had excellent audience. We had excellent participation in the kind of the Q&A and the discussion afterwards, and we had a lot of great feedback. It was a magnificent event.
Do you know which showing had the most ticket sales?
Which do you think had the most tickets?
If I had to guess, I would guess The Queen of My Dreams.
Oh,
I would actually guess the Elliot Page movie.
Really? It was actually Beans. So the Friday night, the Friday night, there was the most tickets, followed second by Sunday, which was Rue. And then very close neck and neck was Close to You, the Elliot Page movie, and
Oh,
then
wow.
Queen of My Dreams.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I want to say thank you because I want to say how appreciative I am that you put up this event because I would
Thank you.
never have seen those movies. Like literally, like it's probably something I've never have seen.
Oh.
And those were so important movies
Mhm.
and transformative movies.
Yeah.
Sunday after we left, I was bawling. I couldn't.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm walking to my car and I was so emotional. I just
Mhm.
grew up in a, French Canadian family. So it really hit home. There was a lot of
Mhm.
moments there that were very symbolic of growing up in the 70s in a French Canadian
I
Yeah.
mean, I
family.
never cry during movies, and I was really like on the verge of tears with that one.
Aw, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
We wanted the relaunch to really pack a punch and be substantial and have, substance and meaning. And we wanted people to be able to experience, uh, while the film fest historically was like the international film fest. So it was movies from all over the world, which we will get back into. We showcased a little bit of that, like all close to home, both geographically and socially, but then also maybe an entirely new perspective for people. So
Very cultural, like
yeah,
very
yep, we
diverse.
wanted there to be a little bit of everything for everybody. We have a Cornwall is not my hometown, but I've lived here for 24 years and I refer to it now as my hometown. And I'm so proud of this city, of all of the good and all of the bad, all of it. Every city has its ups and downs. And, I think for the most part, we're still small enough to care about each other and care about the rights of each other and what people are going through. And we want to make things better. We want to make things good for ourselves, but we also want to make things better for others. And we wanted really just to have a broad perspective from other points of view that you've maybe never seen before, from a new Canadian, from a Muslim who's also a lesbian, from someone who's gone through the process of a gender reassignment, and that was loosely based on Elliot Page's real experiences, and then Beans, which was very emotional for me, about the Oka crisis in the 90s, and I think it brought a lot of new information to people that people were not really aware of just how poorly the Mohawk community was treated.
Yeah.
I kind of think, from my perspective, that was kind of a theme within the whole event, within all four movies, is you have these things that people may not be aware of, but
Mhm.
the point of these movies is you see that these people, whether it would be the Pakistani woman or the transgender man, they're all real people with real
Mhm.
stories. And I think in such a divisive time, it's easy to just forget that and view these as just political issues, but we're all human at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah. We all make mistakes. We all breathe the same air. We all like bleed the same blood. We're all human. And at the core of us, like we all have dreams and hopes and desires. And, we cry if our outfit isn't ready for school, or if we don't get to have the family seating beside dad, or whatever it is. Like we're so much more similar than we are different. And that was kind of the vision that I had anyways for this relaunch of the film fest, was just to have there's so much going on these days in the world, and in Canada and the United States, and we just wanted to kind of make people feel like we've come together again. And the theme for the selection was truce. I was playing around with like, what do I want this to mean, and what do I want people to feel? And I was just writing words down, and I kind of rearranged them, and I was like, holy smokes, truce, tolerance, respect, understanding, compassion, and empathy. And I think if we just challenge every day to just be more tolerant of each other, be more understanding, be more respectful, be more empathetic, and be a little bit more compassionate, I think we're all going to move far, far ahead.
And I think all of these movies did a good job at getting that message across.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
I do want to just say thank you to the board for bringing all these
Yeah.
amazing films to us. Because like my mom said, I don't know if I would have ever seen any 4 of those movies.
Yeah, and I've obviously we try to make sure that we watch the movies before we play them to kind of have a better understanding of what we're about to show people. And I spoke with the Melanie Baker Brown and Pam Maloney, who had been the caretakers of the film fest in prior years, and I just said, like, what's off the table? Like gratuitous violence, like, are we going to show something like Kill Bill and people are going to be okay with that, or we're going to show like a Brokeback Mountain and people are going to be up in arms? And they said nothing's really off the table, because the point of it is to spark a discussion. And as long as you've kind of seen the movies and you feel good about what you're showing, anything kind of goes. And while obviously we didn't want to have like gratuitous violence or anything like that, I just really thought, what, let's have something with, that has a little flavor for everybody. And for sure, outside of beans, my husband is from the Mohawk community of Akwesasne, so beans was, a natural choice for me. Gyawan Dio, who is the main actress in Beans, she's from Akwesasne, and her father was in attendance. And I was honored to have him and her aunt there. She was invited as well, but she is in BC filming her next project, which I just think is spectacular for a local girl to show her community that it's possible to live beyond your dreams. And I think it's so important for young people. I had a upbringing in, local theater as well, with the Seaway Valley Theater Company and with the Cow Patty Theater Company before that. And it's just such a neat way to express yourself. And it was so much fun. And I commend young people for getting involved in theater.
So how many hours of movies did you watch before you actually end up selecting those?
Well, I mean, I've like tens of thousands of hours. I've like, that's a pastime of mine: cooking, baking, walking, now running, kind of thing. But like, I just always found comfort in watching movies, especially on, this kind of weather where it's rainy out or it's yucky. It's like, there's nothing better to me than just like curling up on the couch or curling up in bed with a blanket, my dogs, my husband, if he's home, and watching a movie. And I love, the artistic impressions of like, what's the message that the director is trying to get across, and how did this actress or this actor portray this character? And I've always really been captivated by, this kind of realm. But for this, there was hundreds of hours of watching movies and deciding what we wanted. And there was a lot of other movies that we wanted to showcase. And I think there was 7 or 8 when the film fest had, the last one was in January of 2020, right before COVID. I think there were up to 7 or 8 movies. And we really wanted to just have bite-sized pieces for us to juggle. So we opted for 4 for this year. Next year, we'll definitely have, 6 or 7. We'll have more international movies, more foreign films with foreign languages and that sort of thing. But yeah, there was a lot of work that went into this.
I know you briefly touched on it at the event, but for anyone who wasn't there, are there any movies that you didn't end up selecting that you feel like you maybe could have selected if you were going to select more movies, or were very close to being picked?
Well, Close to You was not like my first choice for that kind of movie slot was Will and Harper. And it's on Netflix. So, which some of them are on Crave and some of them are on things, right? With streaming, it's easy to have access to a lot of different movies. But Will and Harper was my first pick. And if you haven't seen that, it's by far one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. But it addresses a transgender life with kind of like gentle humor and a lifelong friendship. So it's really gently asking, questions like, Will, at any rate, I won't have any spoilers, but it's an awesome movie. It's on Netflix. I believe it's still on there. I'll probably watch it again. It's so good. And it really expresses the deep, sadness and grief that Harper felt while she was living in her male body. And I get that there's a lot of people that have their opinions of that. Whatever, like, it has no bearing on me, so whatever, like, you do you, right? And if you, I've never not felt like me in my gender, so I can't relate to that. But I have always not felt like myself because I was too big or too much, or you're too this, or you have to be this, or and I think we can all kind of relate to that aspect at least a little bit. To have a little bit of compassion, what people are going through, whether we understand it or not, that's besides the point.
Yeah,
But,
who are we to tell people that
exactly.
they're not, their feelings are not valid,
Exactly.
kind
Yeah.
of thing,
Certainly not me. I think people should be happy, and I think people should be allowed to express themselves as long as you're not physically harming or emotionally or verbally harming other people, causing damage to anything. Like, have at her, be yourself and be
Yeah.
proud of it. But yeah, Will and Harper, that was my first pick. We are going to be bringing back Wednesday Night at the Movies. So I don't want to give too many away, but there were a number of other selections that we just thought, okay, this one is going to be a Wednesday Night at the Movies, or maybe, next year or down the road. Because Beans was a 2020 film, so they don't always have to be the new films. We did have a lot of feedback that people would love to see brand new, hot off the press films. But yeah, so the ones that didn't quite make the cut are in the running for Wednesday Night at the Movies.
So when did you come to the decision, I guess, that the film festival was going to be centered mostly around Canadian movies? So like, if you're looking at the Wednesday at the movie stuff, are a lot of these movies also Canadian? Was it decided early in the process that you were going to go through Canadian movies only, or?
Nope, absolutely not. Actually, Rue, I thought it was a beautiful story of the welcoming side of Canadians, which was a stark contrast to maybe not the best part of our history, which I still think is very important that we tell the bad parts of our history. So it was a stark contrast of the opening night Beans, and Beans kind of showed the worst of us, and then Rue kind of showed the best of us, and I thought they were excellent bookends. And then in between, at first I didn't even realize that Close to You was Canadian. And then, as we were watching it, it's like, it's Cobourg, it's, along the 401, it's right down the road, so to speak. Parts of it were filmed in Toronto. And I just thought that was pretty cool. And I thought as a close second, and after watching it, obviously I was like, yeah, this is an excellent choice in lieu of Will and Harper. So I was glad that it was also Canadian. And then Queen of My Dreams just fit that was off of the hot list of the TIFF movies that we had from the winter selection. And I just, the excitement of like the Bollywood style with the singing and the dancing and the music and the colors. And I just thought, how fun to have that one for an evening movie. And then it was like, well, they're all Canadian. So it was like, for the relaunch, to have them all Canadian and all showing a different side of Canadians and a different perspective of Canadians, I thought it all kind of tied in nicely. Going forward, that's not probably something that we'll do again. The Wednesday Night at the Movies is not necessarily something that we're going to do again. But yeah, I thought it was fitting for the theme, and it was fitting for our community.
I've been singing that song like over and over. I've posted it on Facebook. Nobody caught on. I was like, I posted the video and I said, if you know, you know. But yeah, it's such a good song.
Well, I guess that kind of goes back to what we were saying about maybe not a lot of people being exposed to these movies otherwise, because I'm on Letterboxd. I review most of them on Letterboxd, and like on Letterboxd, these have like 5,000 logs, where most mainstream movies that get theatrical releases will have like 100,000 people or more view them. So these are very small movies, and yeah.
Well, we would definitely want to. I mean, if you look at like who's in attendance at TIFF these days, it's like there's a lot of A-list actors, right? So and actresses. Sorry, there's a lot of attention being drawn to like the little underdog movie makers and directors and producers, and I think that's kind of nice to see, because it's bringing up new people into the realm of filmmaking. And I feel they're a lot more personal, they're a lot more personable, they're a lot more relatable. These little independent films, and it's wonderful to be able to showcase them. It's wonderful to be able to showcase Canadian talent we're a talented country. And we had a lot of feedback, actually, that like people are like, are you going to have a Ryan Gosling day? Maybe, maybe. But yeah, for next year, I think we're going to focus a little bit more on, the international movies, and maybe ones that you would never see, because it's a Polish film, or it's a French film, or it's a Spanish film, or, and try to focus a little bit more internationally for next year.
Yeah, I definitely think if like most international films, if they're not like really in the circuit during award season, I'm probably not going to hear about them, which is
Exactly.
a shame, because
Yep.
they can be just as good or better than films that we see here.
And
Absolutely.
I feel like, we used to think of independent films as B movies, and the quality was not there, but oh my God, like the quality is there.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and to touch on that, Julia, even with local theater, like the very first time that I ever entered Altsville Theater was to see Seaway Valley Theater's West Side Story. And so it was a number of years ago. And I'm like, am I in the right place? This is amateur theater. Like, I was blown away. I was blown away at the talent. And even the children's shows, they have the children's musicals. I'm absolutely floored at the talent that we have in our little community. And I marvel at that. And I think so we should be showing that to the world, and we should be showcasing that, especially to our community. So we are gonna include, short submissions for next year. We had a lot of feedback about that people really enjoyed the short films. We had a lot of feedback from our community, from our committee members, from the board members as well, that short films made locally would be something that would be really, really cool. And my nephew is involved. He just did a short film, and for sure, I would love to support local filmmakers any way that we can. So that's definitely on the docket to review for next year as well, and see how we can fit that in, and then maybe have our own little kind of Academy Awards, so to speak, of the Altsville Awards, perhaps. but yeah, honestly, this it just opened a can of worms, in the sense of like, ideas are now my head. That's all I think about. Oh, yeah. We could do that. It's like, we're going to have this, we could do this. We could I'm really, really excited. I was really honored to be asked to be a part of it. I was honored to chair it. I chatted with Melanie Baker Brown and Sid Gardner, who had been the chairs in prior years. And I was really honored to carry on this tradition.
Very nice. Yeah. So your Wednesday night movies, is that going to start shortly? Like, are you doing this year?
Yep, we are going to look at doing it this year. I'm thinking it's probably going to start in March. We're really hoping for February, but I think that we had put all of our focus and energy into this, all being new. So the entire committee, myself, Brittany, the general manager, this was our first crack at it. So we had never been a part of it before. So we really wanted to devote all of our time and energy to the Film Fest. And then, while also kind of thinking of the spin-offs, so to speak. So we're going to try to time it really well, where we can get it off the ground as soon as possible. And that we have as much notice as possible. So you can definitely sign up for the newsletter for altsvilletheatre.ca, and sign up for the newsletter. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on social media, so that you can, find out when all of these things are happening, and definitely be included.
I want to say something about your red carpet event, because I was taken aback. Mm-hmm. So we showed up on Friday night, and like we were a little underdressed because I had no idea that it was so classy and fancy. I mean, it might as well have been in Toronto. It was that classy. We were
Yeah.
like, yeah, it was
Yeah.
a very big town event. Like
Yeah, that was
feel,
all.
you know?
That was all Brittany, and she had this vision from the get go, and I thought, you know what, that's your expertise, so you run with that, and I'm going to run with this, and we really it was like a co-chairing the committee together. We really and you know, we have Troy Thompson, who is from Akwesasne. He was on the committee. We had Lisa Hamlin, who's like the movie buff of all movie buffs. She had so many great suggestions and ideas. And then we had you know, Brittany and myself. We had Roseanne Fortier. And then we had Bridget Rousey, who had to step away at the last minute because she had a surprise visit, which was pretty exciting. But you know, we just had such a great committee, and I would, you know, welcome if anybody has any suggestions. For sure, we want to hear them, good or bad. Right? We're open to feedback. Be polite about it, but we're open to feedback. You know, if you want to be a part of it next year, if you want to you know, submit an entry for a short film, like reach out and let's have a discussion about what the community actually wants to see and have for next year.
Awesome.
Mhm.
But yeah, I was absolutely blown away as well with the red carpet gala. It was exactly what she drew out on paper, and exactly what you know, we had Bruce Wickham Events come in and set everything up, and he had laid out this floor plan like to a T. And we walked in and I just thought, yeah, exactly. Like, where are we? Are we in Toronto? Is this part of the film fest? And we had the backdrop and the red carpet, and you know,
the whole entrance was completely different. Like,
Yes.
like you
Yep.
moved the traffic a different way, and I was
Yep.
like completely confused. I was
I
like,
like that you
"Where are we
had it
going?"
basically all weekend too.
Yeah.
You had the bar back on Saturday night.
Yep.
It's still like all weekend, even though it wasn't like the red carpet event, it still felt very classy.
It still felt very classy, and we had, you know, the pipe and drape up to kind of block off the windows, to kind of give it that little element of secrecy, like what's going on in there, and you know, but also make it like it completely transformed the room. And when you walk into the lobby at Altsville, it's a beautiful, captivating space. It's, you know, open to the second story, and these large pillars, and it's a commanding room on its own. But when you doll it up like that, it really opens your eyes to like what's possible to be held at that theater, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you know, like, oh, and we, of course, Brittany and I were just like la 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 about other things that we could, you know, other fundraising ideas, and you know, other uses for the space. Other, you know, I got married there. We had my wedding.
Oh, wow.
My husband and I got married on the stage at Altsville in the fall of 23, and like that was spectacular.
Yeah.
It
Wow.
was we, you know, we had Farron King, was she's the Indigenous hoop dancer. She performed on the stage for us, and that was like a show-stopping moment. Yeah, it was a really cool. It's really cool to think of like outside the box of stuff that can be held there, for sure.
Right. I would never pop into my mind to have a wedding there. Like, that's pretty unique.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. Yep.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. We're not
pleasure.
going to take any more of your time, but thank you so
My
much for
pleasure.
coming
My pleasure.
to talk to us. And I'll look
Yeah.
forward to seeing you on Wednesdays.
Yes, yeah, and we'll
and
definitely keep you guys in the loop for the film fest next year, and we'd love to have you guys out again next year.
Awesome.
Yep. Thank you for joining
All right.
us.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Have a great afternoon,
Bye.
guys.
You too.
You too.
Bye. So I'm just going to stop for a moment, but after, maybe we can discuss the movies.
Stop.
Those movies we saw.
Wait.
I'm going to
Stop.
take a little commercial break.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. saw myself peek back in between commercials there. I was like, oh, we're back already?
My timing was off.
I just want to say I saw Old School Dave in the comments say he needs to see some of those red carpet pics of us. We don't really have any because we were a little underdressed. We have like one selfie at the event, but
Yeah,
in the Seeker there are going to be some pictures on the red carpet, just not of us.
right. Right. Yeah, everybody who's anybody was there that night. Like it
Yeah,
was,
the opening night. I should have. She said Beans was the most attended, right? I should have figured that.
yeah, because it was a red carpet event, right?
I saw Mayor Towndale there, a few councilors,
The
the
Grand
Grand
Chief.
Chief of Akwesasne.
Hmm. So yeah, there was a lot of people. So let's talk about Beans.
Wow, what a movie! And like Jennifer was talking about, starring Kai Teo, who is from Akwesasne, who's from the area, and she is so talented. Whatever she's filming in BC right now, I'm looking forward to seeing because
Yeah.
I mean, she was what when. So I think she's 18 now. This movie was filmed like 5-6 years ago, so she was like 12, 13 at the time.
Yeah.
Knocks it out of the park with this performance.
Oh, she is such a great actress, and I mean that was a difficult role
Hmm.
to do because oh my gosh, like it's a complex
So complex.
characters. Yeah. So but she, like you said, she knocked it out of the park. She was like fantastic. And
So
having lived through that crisis, like it really gave me another perspective. Like I was telling you when we came back to when we came back home, that my entire life, my perspective of indigenous people was set on what I was taught, right? And what my parents'
Mhm.
experience had been, or what my parents were kind of feeding me. And it was so wrong. Like it was so wrong. Anyways, but it's stuff like this that makes you open your eyes and realize that your view is probably like, I was looking at this and I'm like, freak, I hate white people. Like, like it was
And
just
for
heartbreaking.
anyone watching, I'll read the synopsis of Beans here. 12-year-old Beans is on the edge, torn between innocent childhood and reckless adolescence, forced to grow up fast and become the tough Mohawk warrior she needs to be during the Oka crisis, the turbulent indigenous uprising that tore Quebec and Canada apart for 78 tense days in the summer of 1990.
Yeah, but we saw one side, like the media was showing one side of
Mhm.
that conflict, and this movie shows the other side. And this is years later, we're seeing the other side.
And
Right.
I don't want to get too political here, but I think that is a common trait with a lot of world issues. The media predominantly covers one side, leaving you to feel a certain type of way about the other side because as it goes, human nature, I guess we're kind of scared of the unknown. But I think just exposing yourself to all sides and remembering that all sides have a story, have a point of view, you
Yep.
can understand all sides and you can understand the conflict better.
Yep. I was going to say something about Rue, but I'm going to wait until we're discussing Rue.
So other thoughts about Beans. Her friend, that actress, I don't know who the actress is. Was the character's name April? I see April here.
Probably, like I think so.
Yeah.
Like
Alina
that
Alexis,
friend
that's the actress. She does a great job too.
and the mom. Like the mom is phenomenal.
Yep. As I said in my review, I think it's a good story about innocence. I mean, you have
And how to keep it, like
from one
preserving your
side,
innocence.
we have the Mohawk community preserving their innocence in this conflict where Quebec is trying to build a golf course over their gravesite. And on the other side, we have the protagonist. I think it's a nice double parallel, trying to preserve her innocence. She's 12 during the movie, falling into a bad crowd with some good people in it. Like, these are teenagers still. I'm not going to write them off as lifelong bad people. I know the friend she makes ends up being a great person, but I think it's just a beautiful movie about innocence.
It is. All right. Now,
We got Close to You, which I think we both agree. I still gave it a 7 out of 10. I think it was a good movie, but I think we both agree it was the weakest of the good movies shown.
yeah. We had a difference of opinion on this. Like I felt that that it was weak. Like the dialogue was weak. Like the the character development was not deep. Like it was all, to me, surface level. Like, I mean, okay, it was a deep subject, but I felt that it was like still surface level. It didn't, I felt that a lot of the times, like the dialogue between the family, for example, it felt forced to me. Like it was not,
I understand that, and I kind of don't. Where I would agree is the, I guess, main antagonist of the movie, Paul, who is Sam's brother-in-law. And for a quick synopsis of this movie, trans man Sam, oh, that kind of rhymes. He has to go, he lives in Toronto and he returns to his hometown. I think Jennifer said Coburg.
Yeah.
For his father's birthday, and he hasn't been back home for like 5 years. So it's I mean, it's an interesting movie in the sense that the family is not, outside of like Paul, the family is not transphobic, I wouldn't say. It's just a difficult situation. And what I was going to say is where I would agree with you is that Paul is like, he's hitting the cartoonish reactionary talking points about like transphobia. It doesn't feel very nuanced in that regard. I do think there were bits and pieces with the family that were amazing, though, like Sam's conversation with his dad.
Yes.
That was a great conversation. His quote when storming out, where he's like, rising above it is getting the fuck out of here.
That was powerful.
That's a powerful quote.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Yeah, I do think it was mixed in that regard. I think,
but I mean, that's not to say that it's not a movie that's worth watching. It is absolutely worth watching, because especially I feel like if you're already kind of like turned off by this topic, like this is a like an easy
that was what I was
to...
thinking about when you had your criticism. I was like, well, in the crowd there were a lot of like older people who may not be exposed to topics of transgenderness. Like, I have a sibling, you have a child who gender identity up in the air, but
but it made a good point, like with the mom. That's one thing that I liked. Like it showed the mom and the relationship and how difficult it was for... I could really relate to that because of this situation, because there is a mourning period for everybody around that person, because you kind of have to, like Trinity is my only girl, so I had to really mourn that side, like. But
I also think the movie makes a point of being like, well, it's not really about your mourning, it's about someone in your family wanting to accept themselves. And I think the father, after Sam leaves, is like, he wanted to be here for once. He was happy with us for once, and you took that away, Paul. And I think that was very powerful. Another thing I wanted to touch on is this narrative that the mom has, that Sam's sisters have, that he's not okay because he was struggling in the past, even though he's persistent on the fact that he is okay now, which his dad does see and says it's the happiest he's been when he came to that realization. I think that's really powerful. I don't think that's like surface level. I think that's an interesting analysis.
It is, but I can see both sides. Like I can see why you would constantly worry. Like if somebody is on the verge of like suicide, it's kind of normal for the people around them to always kind of...
But he wasn't at that point. That, like,
I know,
he was well removed from that.
Okay, but oftentimes when somebody is contemplating suicide, they keep saying they're okay, so you can
But
see
I don't think
where it would be.
maybe, but I don't think it just comes down to saying he's okay. Like I think you can tell a lot of like that seems kind of reductionist but I feel like you can to a certain extent tell if it's just words
Mm,
saying I'm okay
not
based
sure I
on the
agree with that.
actions. And there is an argument that Sam is already secluded from the family, so they can't really see how he's living. But I
That's
mean,
true.
as the viewer seeing how he's living, we can tell he's in a stable spot.
And let's talk about the ending, because you and I had a completely different interpretation of that ending. I hated it because to me, it it kind of made it seem like everything was the same, you know, because
Mhm.
the movie, like, spoiler alert, the movie starts the same way that the movie ends, and to me that showed that, I don't know, it kind of showed that like nothing ever changes,
Well,
you know.
okay. The reason I don't necessarily agree with that is because the movie starts with Sam being happy with his life in Toronto, and it ends with him presumably also being happy with his life in Toronto, save also a love interest, which was my least favorite part about the ending. Because we haven't even touched on this yet, but the character Catherine is kind of like a love interest for Sam. And the point I made is that um the movie is like very much about Sam's family recognizing that Sam has to prioritize himself. But this love interest, Catherine, has a family, has a husband, and has kids who she presumably seems happy with. But eventually she kisses and engages with Sam. So it kind of leaves it up to interpretation. Is she going to leave her family for Sam? Which is like, I don't know, kind of backwards if we're making a point about prioritizing yourself in the situation you're in. If on the flip side, Sam just gets whatever he wants in a romance, I think it would have been more powerful for him to understand that she can't be in a romantic relationship with him.
I can see that point. Not sure I agree with it, but
Hmm.
okay. Next.
Next, we have. I'm just going to say before we get into the topic of the next one and the last one we're going to talk about, I've been so back and forth on which I like more.
Me
They're
too.
they both have a lot of I don't know how to say it. They both deal with
They're
heavy
in.
themes, but one is a lot more comedic than the other, and it kind of furthers the heavy themes with comedy. Whereas the last one we'll talk about is like a straight up drama.
So, yeah, so I want to say that there's something to be said about using humor to push a very heavy topic, you know?
Hmm.
Because there was a lot of different heavy topics in that movie. But using the humor, I think it makes people more receptive to
Hmm.
it, you
And
know?
we haven't even said it, by the way. We're talking about The Queen of My Dreams. And I'll read the synopsis for this one too to catch you up a little bit if you've not seen the movie, which I would assume most people haven't. Azra is worlds apart from her conservative Muslim mother. When her father suddenly dies on a trip home to Pakistan, Azra finds herself on a Bollywood-inspired journey through memories both real and imagined, from her mother's youth in Karachi to her own coming-of-age story in rural Canada. Rural Canada being Cape Breton, I think, Nova Scotia. And I mean, so my favorite thing about the movie, as I've said many times, is just how atmospheric it is, because it takes place predominantly in three different settings, one being 1999 Pakistan, one being 1969 Pakistan, and one being 1989 Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. And I think the movie does such a good job at portraying all three of these locations that you really get a sense of, it's not just like, oh wow, this, I feel like I'm here. It's like understanding this character coming from 1969 Pakistan, help going into 1989 Cape Breton helps me understand how this character had this journey that much more.
Yeah, you're completely transported to, you know, not only the location but the era as well. It does such a phenomenal job
Yeah.
at making you feel part of it
And I mean,
through music.
one thing it
A
shows
lot.
is Pakistan in 1969 was a lot more liberal and
Progressive.
free, progressive than it was in 1999, and I think that's really interesting.
Yeah,
I think
it was surprising to me to see that. Like how you know contemporary the women were, or like really they looked a lot more free in 1969 than
I think the mother, Miriam, also her arc is about as Pakistan, even though she doesn't live there anymore, as Pakistan gets more conservative, she gets more conservative in her values as she ages too. I
yeah.
think that's interesting. I think the movie does a good job at showing why. It doesn't seem like a lot of the time with a character progression like this over 30 years, you can feel like this character doesn't feel like the same person. But seeing, like, I understand it, seeing her husband almost get taken away from her and her kind of internalizing the fact that it's because she's not a devout enough Muslim, it's powerful.
Yeah. 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 I loved the fact that they were using the same scenes over and over again, like with
Yeah.
the teacups and the like
Hmm.
that was such
It was so
a
funny.
cool, like, cut to the
But
next
then
scene.
they
So
absolutely flipped it in a way that wasn't funny when after the scene where Azra goes to kiss another girl and has the argument with her mom, we get back to one of those scenes and it's just the mom selling the Tupperware, and that like ripped my heart out.
yeah, it was definitely they had a lot of deep sad moments as well, but it was and so there was a lot about mother daughter relationships
Hmm.
there that a lot of us can relate to, I'm sure.
Not
um
me.
Thank God. But you're not my daughter, by the way. So, I'm saying
That's what I'm
mother,
saying.
daughter.
That's why I said
Yeah,
not me.
yeah. So, yeah, I could relate a lot
I
to
think
my mother's.
I just absolutely loved the ending because I'm misunderstanding it, but from where I'm from my perspective, from how I understand it, the movie ends with both of them breaking the rules, which is something that both of their characters did in different stages of their life, to both mourn the loss and be together in the loss of Hassan, which is Azra's father, Miriam's husband. And it was just like such a wholesome moment. I think it showed we're bigger than our arguments.
So I'm not clear about that really, because I'm not sure that like they can't go and see and visit after like the burial. I'm I think they I don't think they broke the rules. I think it's just during the burial that they cannot be there. So
Well, either way, my like
it was
maybe
not clear.
you may be right, but I still think the point stands about being able to get along when they've had all these arguments. They're like they very clearly don't like each other but they still love each other, and they
Yeah,
loved Azur's father
the
Hassan.
father. Right.
So
Yeah, yeah. So one of the saddest moment for me was when um her grandmother sees
oh,
her as the mother,
I think
and
that was a
and
beautiful
and tells
scene.
the mother, you're not, no, you're not Miriam, that's Miriam, like, you come and wash my hair. And then she kind of has a conversation with her
Well, the
that was
film
meant for the other woman, so it was kind of
the film
really
ends
touching.
on the line, right? Mom, I have to tell you what my grandmother said. That's the last
Hmm.
line.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I see it as sad, I guess, a little bit for the mom in the moment, but I kind of see it as happy in the sense that I think it symbolizes that Azra's mom will eventually forgive her for all of this if the grandmother was able to forgive Miriam.
Hmm. I find that it showed that oftentimes, like, what we don't say to each other is worse than what we do say to each other. Like,
Hmm.
the unspoken things are more divisive sometimes. But anyway, so that was the Queen of My Dreams. And I
This
would be playing the
such
damn video because it's such a good freaking song, but because it keeps playing in the background. But we're gonna get copyright violation if I do. So I'm not gonna do it.
That movie was just freaking phenomenal.
Yeah. And then there was Rue.
Yeah. Here, let me just get it open. I'm trying to find something.
Rue was yeah, it's something like, so that's what I liked about these movies this weekend. Like, I think it was a good idea to stay close to home for this year anyways, because after you come back from like all the stuff that we've lived through with COVID, it's nice to just, it feels like we're focusing
Yeah.
on us, and it was all movies that I could relate to in some way or another. And then Rue, I felt so bad.
Yeah.
Like after, like I was saying, I was bawling. Like I couldn't stop sobbing. I was really, really touched by that movie.
I just want to
And
share this shot from Rue because it's just, if you
do
could
I
put
have
it on
to?
screen.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
wondering what that was. That's you. Okay, let me see. Oh,
That is like a magnificent shot. They have a few other ones too. Like this one in the boat.
mhm.
I was just looking through the shots on IMDb, and the filmography and the cinematography of this movie was great.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. It's like those shots you were showing, like at the end when they show and they just focus on the people, and they stay there, and
Mhm.
that was such a powerful moment.
So I'll give the synopsis of Rue as well.
Mhm.
After a dangerous sea crossing and a stay in a camp in Malaysia, the young Vietnamese Tin and her family are accepted as refugees in Canada and arrive in Montreal, where they begin their new life. But for Tin, adapting has its share of difficulties.
Yeah.
And one thing I wanted to say, this is not my original thought, I guess, but after seeing it, I thought about it more, and I'm like, yeah, wow. I saw in a Letterboxd review they said it was an incredibly bold decision to have the protagonist of Rue played by, or not played by, but written as someone who is so passive. She doesn't speak a lot, but the expression is a picture's worth 1,000 words. Her nonverbal reaction to everything around her is worth 1,000,000 words. She knocks it out of the park. She doesn't speak often, but her, like, the nuances in her facial expressions, it's just like a brilliant performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, come on. When a role like that um lays on or relies on your nonverbal more than your verbal, and you can,
Yeah.
bring the character to life as much as she did, is like unbelievable. um it was such it was a hard movie to watch at times,
Yeah.
to me. Like, I it did a phenomenal job at putting you in her shoes, and living what the emotions that you would feel in this, in a a similar path. Like, I remember, like, at the beginning, one of the things that really hit me is you'd have the scenes about like leaving Vietnam and the war, and the boats, and the refugee camps, and then she arrives in Canada, and she's thrown into like a church basement where they're having a celebration for all of them, and they're put in the middle of the room, and all the Canadians are applauding, yay,
Yeah.
like, oh my god, like they don't speak a word of, like, she doesn't speak a word of French or anything, and she must be there thinking, like, what the hell are they applauding for? Like, I just went through hell to be here. Like,
And like her, I guess, nonverbal reactions. It's not just like, oftentimes I don't know how to describe it. It feels like almost the director and writers being kind of like self-indulgent, self-obsessed with the art they're creating, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to make this character nonverbal because it's a cool gimmick." But with the character Tin, it just makes sense. Like, first of all, she doesn't speak the language of the area she just migrated to, but even like just speaking her own language, she's just like, I guess, so scared after all she's been through that it makes sense that she's not talking a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I know I was looking at her and I was thinking, when I was growing up, because again, that's my era, right? I grew up in those years, and so there was refugees from Vietnam. Like I remember vividly when I was in grade 4 or 5, there was like a little Vietnamese boy that came to our school, and he was in my class, and I never really approached him because it was unknown, and I kind of was shy too. I was like, but I was thinking back to that, and I was like, oh my god, like I had no idea. No idea. Anyways, it was fantastic, and like the Quebec, people are
Mhm.
like awesome, and the family, that little spunky girl, man, she's spunky.
I think like there's such like a weird dynamic between Beans and how the Quebecois people acted in Beans and Rue. Kind of like it's Jennifer was just touching on how it's like Canadians reacting in
The
two
best
different
in
ways.
the
I think
best
it's
in the
interesting that it was Quebecois people in both, and
both movie.
I don't like. It's hard to understand like how that works. Obviously, there are some Quebecois people would be who are on the sides who are on the side of the Mohawk people in Beans, but like I don't know. It's interesting that there would probably be the same people who would have such a accepting reaction to one and then such a, I guess, like
Yeah,
combative. And I think it's about like your understanding of the situation. If you reconcile with the situation on like from a point of like mistruth, like misunderstanding, misinformation, you may be more combative. When if you approach it from a point of view of understanding the situation, you'll be supportive, compassionate, empathetic, all that.
well, I was telling you that when I grew up, um, we had a summer home
Hmm.
on a Mohawk reservation. It was Mohawk land, and so anytime we would go to open the country home in the summer, because it was just a summer thing, we had to take a plane to go there. Like there was no roads or anything. We took a plane to go there. But anytime we would show up there would have been vandalism to the place. So I grew up hearing, oh, these damn, they
Yeah.
did it again. They destroyed our this and that and this and that. And so it was always made out to be the bad guy. And then one year we flew over there, and the thing was burned to the ground. Like they had burned the thing. So I had this side of the story. I had this version. To me, it was like they were the bad guy because they destroyed our property and blah, blah. Little did I know that we didn't own that land. Like
Hmm.
it matters. Like
Yeah.
context matters.
Yeah.
So yeah, only much later in my 20s and 30s did I finally, decide to look it up and saw like,
Yeah.
wow, this is like mind blowing.
So, how would you rank best to worst the four movies we saw?
I've been like you, moving between Rue and the Queen of My Dreams. I think I would go backwards the way they play, but backwards. so so from the
Close to you
last to the
above
first.
Beans?
Oh no, no, sorry. No, I'm lying. So okay, so I'll do Rue, Queen of My Dreams, Beans, and then
Yeah,
we'll
I'd be
see.
the same except maybe Queen of My Dreams above Rue. Jury's out on that one. I have to think more.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? I keep oscillating between the two. Like every day I'm kind of like, oh, I like that one better. So it's a
Mhm.
hard choice because they're both different and unique in their own way. And like I said, something has to be told about using humor to push a deep topic.
Yeah. I guess if you want to, because I'd feel weird not talking about this movie at all. A film we didn't see at the Eltsville Film Fest. We saw the day after we recorded the podcast last week, Sing Sing, which is now like my
So
2024 movie of the year.
so there's like we didn't even touch on this on the show because we had Jennifer and it was so busy this weekend, but it's Oscar season.
Yep.
So
Nominees got announced.
yeah, and Sing
I mean,
Sing
we can,
is one of
if
them.
you want to go for like another 30 minutes, we can
I
quickly go
can,
over
but
those.
I will have to take a
Or
break. So
like even like 15 minutes.
yep, we can. We certainly can. But I have to take a break, so I will be back in not even 1 minute. Don't leave, people. We're gonna be right back.
We will be right back.
I need a be right back slide.
Yeah, I agree with old school Dave. He said you cut me
What
off.
did he
I
say?
could have just stayed and talked about
Oh,
things for a minute. Oh well.
sorry.
Here, I'll screen share as we briefly go through the Oscar nominations. Let me
Okay.
just pull them up. What was the I think it was like the CBS article. There was one article that was really
I don't know.
I
I've been
guess
so
I'll
busy. I didn't
USA
even.
Today.
Okay.
Oh, this one's actually neater. It has like a very nice layout.
Okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
See the full list of nominees. We have sad breaking news. Donald Trump vows to build mass detention facility at Guantanamo Bay for 30,000 migrants. We don't have to get into that. Let's X that out. Go back into movies and ignore what's happening in the real world. Films that received Oscar nominations. First of all, we have the whole list, and from what I understand, the movie that the general public kind of received as the worst by far of all Oscar nominations has the most nominations by quite a bit.
Emilia Perez.
Yep. We have The
So-
Brutalist with 10, Wicked with 10, A Complete Unknown with 8,
Wow.
Conclave, Anora, Dune Part 2, The Substance, Nosferatu, I'm Still Here, Sing Sing, The Wild Robot, The Apprentice, Flow, Nickel Boys, A Real Pain.
Mhm.
I'd say we've seen like half these movies,
A lot
maybe
of
you
them.
a little more. Yeah. And we're going to see by the Oscars, we're going to have seen all of them, hopefully.
Yep. Ooh, actor in a leading role. So, Coleman Domingo, please.
Yeah,
Please
I'm
give me
just-
Coleman Domingo.
given that this wasn't even nominated for Best Picture, I'm scared he's not going to win it, but
Yeah.
I
The
hope he
Brutalist,
does.
we have to, like, I've seen The Complete Unknown, I've seen Conclave. What's the other one? I can't. Can you
The
scroll up?
Apprentice.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I've seen them all except for
Oh.
The Brutalist. So um I would give
I
it to
would,
Coleman.
yeah, me too. Of the ones I've seen, Timothy Chalamet did a great job. Even don't get me wrong, I don't think he's on the same tier as Coleman Domingo. I think Sebastian Stan in The Apprentice is a little closer.
Mhm.
I think Coleman Domingo is my favorite of the ones I've seen.
Yeah, it is such a deeper character. Like, I mean, no offense, and you know, it's not to put down Timothy Chalamet, because he's done a fantastic job with portraying, you know, Bob Dylan, but this is such a more complex character to play. So
Yeah. Sebastian Stan, The Apprentice, though, like
it
I would
was
still give
pretty
it to
good.
Coleman Domingo, but it was, I would say, better than Timothy Chalamet.
Mhm.
Actor in a supporting role. I've seen 4 of these, and all 4 I would be happy with.
Jeremy Strong.
All 4 that I've seen, I would be happy with winning. I think my favorite would be Jeremy Strong. Oh, but they're all so good.
Yes, they are.
Like, I really wouldn't. I think Yura Borisov would be my 4th.
Yeah, me too. I wouldn't be mad with any of them, like, really.
I wouldn't be mad with him winning. Kieran Culkin does such a good job in A Real Pain.
He does.
Like that's not an easy character to act, and I know maybe it is
No.
similar to some other characters he plays, but it's
But
like,
so is Jeremy Strong, like,
yeah.
but yeah, no,
Edward
I
Norton's
won't
is
be mad.
so, like, I feel like Edward Norton playing what, Pete Seeger, he's like
Mhm.
the opposite of Jeremy Strong's character in The Apprentice. You have the most sweet old man and the most bitter old man.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, what are
Actress in
you
a leading
calling
role.
old, dude? These guys are not old.
Hey, these movies take place over a long period of time, and they're
I
both
know.
like in their
I
60s,
know. I'm
70s
just
by the
being
end of it.
facetious.
Actress in a leading role.
Okay.
Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, which we have not seen. Carla Sofia Gascon for Emilia Perez, which we have not seen. Mikey Madison for Honora. Demi Moore for The Substance, and Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here.
Okay. I've seen only 2 of those.
You've seen
So
2.
to be
These are some we're
decided.
gonna have to see. Yep.
Yep. So
I
far,
would assume you would go Demi Moore over Mikey Madison.
Yeah, definitely.
I would imagine, I don't know much about I'm Still Here, but I would imagine Emilia Perez and Wicked are not taking the spot from Demi Moore for you.
Yeah. No, not probably not.
Actress in a
right.
supporting role. So this is I forget the character's name. This is the other singer in A Complete Unknown. Zoe Saldana, Emilia Perez, Isabella Rossellini, Conclave, Felicity Jones, The Brutalist, Ariana Grande, Wicked.
Hmm.
So this is one where you've seen 2 again, and I've
Yeah,
seen 1.
I mean, Isabella Rossellini, it was a good role, but I'm not sure that it's like Oscar good, personally.
Neither is The Complete Unknown one, if I'm being honest.
No, right. Well, that was that was not his girlfriend. That was
that was
singer with the
I think she does a better
I forget his
performance,
I
but
forget her name.
yeah, me too.
Okay.
But I mean, I also don't think, maybe this is going to be one where I'm like Felicity Jones, because I really don't think I'm going to like Wicked enough. And Emilia Perez is apparently awful.
Hey, maybe we'll be super surprised.
Yeah, maybe we will. Probably not by Emilia Perez, maybe by Wicked. Animated feature film. I haven't seen any of them, and pretty much all of them I want to see.
Yeah. Well, better get busy.
The Wild Robot, one of my favorite movie reviewers on YouTube, Sean Chandler, who I stole the tier listing sequel segment from last week. He put The Wild Robot as his favorite movie of like 100 something movies he saw last year.
Wow.
It has 3 noms. I think most nominations of any animated movie. Cinematography, The
Oh,
Brutalist, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, Maria, and Nosferatu.
that just might have to go to Dune.
It might. I was surprised Dune didn't get a Best Picture nomination given, or maybe it did on the Oscars. I know it didn't at the Golden Globes, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I feel like it's hard for some reason for blockbusters to get, even if they're on par with some of the best movies. Like Dune Part 2, it's not in my
But
top 10, but I wouldn't be
it
mad if
wasn't
it
hard
got.
for Wicked.
Yeah, that's right. That is true. Dune Part 2, amazing cinematography. I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad at Nosferatu either. That is
Yeah, that
one
was
thing.
pretty atmospheric.
That is one thing it did very good. Costume design. I don't get A Complete Unknown being on here, as I think we talked about. But I mean,
Yeah,
again, Nosferatu. You've seen all of these movies except Wicked.
Wicked. Oh, Gladiators. Wow, you know what? Conclave might win it.
Yeah, I mean, from what it looks like, maybe it's deserved.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Directing.
Directing.
The Substance, Emilia Perez, A Complete Unknown, The Brutalist, Anora. I don't know why I thought Adrian Brody directed The Brutalist as well as being the lead actor. I
Oh.
guess not. I think he might have
Hmm.
produced it or helped write it. That is a
Well,
movie we need to watch. A 4-hour movie we need to watch.
I know. I know. I usually don't like long movies. So we'll have
Mhm.
I don't know. We'll
Yeah,
have to see.
there's a sweet spot for sure,
Right now it'd go to the Substance for sure.
which I have not seen. Maybe I'll see The Substance and Conclave, so I'll catch up on the ones that you haven't seen this week.
Oh, I like the fact that they give you the last year's.
Yep. Oppenheimer.
Cool.
Oppenheimer had a crazy run last year.
Yeah, it did.
Deservingly so. Now, here's some that were not really.
Yeah.
Documentary, feature, documentary, short. Film editing. This is such a
Yeah.
technical category. I don't feel qualified
Yeah.
too much to
I
speak on
agree.
like film editing. International
International.
feature.
So you saw I'm Still Here, you said?
No, I didn't.
Oh, which one did you watch
Oh,
just
I haven't seen
yesterday?
any of these. Wow. No, I was saying like a few days ago. It was Kinds of Kindness.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Makeup and hairstyling. Does The Substance really?
Oh yeah, The Substance. Well, it could go to Wicked, but The Substance is yeah, probably The Substance.
Last year,
Nosferatu as well though. Like
it's funny. Last year, Poor Things won it, and I feel like Nosferatu's kind of in the same realm of like. Maybe I'm just saying that because Willem Dafoe's in both of them. Music, original score. This is one I think it's crazy that Dune Part 2 was not nominated for.
Mm-hmm.
Emilia Perez, Conclave, The Brutalist, Wicked, The Wild Robot. Some of these powerhouses with like 8-10 noms we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen one of these movies.
Yeah.
Last
Well,
year was
to be fair, I started Emilia Perez.
Oh, I've heard songs from it and they don't sound very good. I can't lie.
Yeah. Okay.
Original song, Like a Bird from Sing Sing. Why am I blanking?
I'm blanking too. What is that?
I'll have to listen to it. Damn. I haven't seen many of those at all. And Best Picture. I don't know why. Why did they go on after Best Picture? I want to look at Best Picture last. So I'll come back to it. We have sound.
Those are all like very technical. Visual effects though.
Oh, Alien Romulus might have to be that.
Oh yes. That was so good. Like
but
the visual
Dune as well. Writing for an adapted screenplay. I'll give it to Sing Sing.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Sing Sing might be my favorite movie of the year. And writing original screenplay.
A Real Pain.
A Real Pain.
The Substance too, but I think A Real Pain does is more of a like complex topic to write, like, you know.
Best Picture. We've seen. Dang, I don't even know if I've seen half of them yet. 1, 2. Oh, Dune did get the nomination. 3.
Oh, there you go. I thought you said it didn't.
I thought it didn't. I guess I'm wrong.
Complete Unknown, Conclave,
I
Amelia
know.
Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys.
I've seen
So
3. You've seen 5.
What's Nickel Boys again?
I'm not entirely sure.
Well, since Sing Sing is not there, it's
Crazy.
definitely not Anora for me. I guess I'd give it to The Substance.
My favorite of the 3 I've seen is A Complete Unknown, and I feel like that might change.
Yeah. Well, we got a lot of work to do before the Oscars.
This is also definitely a weaker year than last year, I would say.
Mm-hmm. So, speaking of Sing Sing, you're gonna have your review in the February Seeker of Sing Sing. So I'm gonna wait until that comes out to
like hold on, like okay, that's fair. Yeah. Let's just listen to last year's Best Picture nominees and say like this year's not really a competition from, and I don't think it will be after I've seen the majority of the movies either. The Holdovers, American Fiction. I think we never saw The Zone of Interest. Barbie.
Yes, I did.
Oh, I didn't end up watching it. Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Past Lives, Anatomy of a Fall, Maestro, Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah, last year was such a great year for movies.
I guess that's not last year anymore. We're in 2025.
Yeah, 2 years
last
ago,
year's Oscars, you can say.
Yeah. Those were all like awesome movies. You didn't like Maestro though.
No, I didn't.
I loved Maestro.
Old School Dave kind of makes a good point. But I think like last year those movies were before the writer, those movies were written before the writer's block. So maybe that's what's happening right now. We're kind of in the writer's strike era a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, I mean, Oppenheimer was probably written in like 2020 and just slowly conceptualized and then got into production in 2022 or whatever. But like the writer's strike, it wouldn't have affected those movies, but it's affecting the movies coming out now, which may explain why this year was
like I can't believe, like, you know, last year we were going to see a movie a week about like we were almost always at the theater, like every single Friday, every week. There was always something good coming out, you know? Like it's been a stretch of like 4 weeks now that nothing, you know.
It's like January, so I'll give it some time, but okay, and all the movies I named, I didn't say Iron Claw, I didn't say Talk to Me, I didn't say Godzilla -1.
Because those were not nominated, but those were all awesome movies in 2023. Yeah. Oh well.
Like I might take like as much as I like Sing Sing, I might take like 4 or 5 movies above that. And it's like my favorite movie of this year, if of 2024. If it was 2023, might be my 5th. I don't know if it's better than Iron Claw. I definitely wouldn't put it above Holdovers. But I mean, it's still like a great movie. I might have given it a 5. It's like really good, but last year is just crazy.
Yeah. I think that with Sing Sing, it's the shock factor that really got me, you know? So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, let's
go watch Sing Sing now. Like
the shock factor towards the very end of the movie. I'll say that.
Well, no, it was more like the middle when I figured it out.
Well, yeah, that's because you looked it up. But I mean, if you're not on your phone during the movie, the shock factor will be.
Well, I looked it up because I had a feeling, you know. So, anyways, you'll have to
Wait, maybe
You'll
maybe
have
this
to
is
go
saying
see
too
it.
much, but what your feeling was like, I don't think I've seen any of these guys before. I'm not gonna say any more than that.
Oh, you've said enough. You've said enough.
Oh,
Anyway.
what a great movie though.
All right. Well, I think I'm all talked out.
Yep. We went for an hour and 20 this time.
Yep. So I want to thank everybody for watching, and hopefully you watch again next week. Before we go, if you
I
want
agree
a
with
little
that guy in the comments. Sorry, do your
What
plug.
did he say? What did he say? Hold on. Should I material your streaming software so it doesn't have to?
I just
Well,
want to
you
share my
are
screen.
added to my Sean. You are like,
Your voice
you
just
are?
sounded demonly for a second.
Aren't you like on the back end? You're on the back end,
No,
right?
I can't add things. Let me like try to share my screen right now. We're doing technical.
Yeah,
can't.
it's asking me if you
Yeah,
can.
well, don't share it. I was just
Uh,
trying to see if I could.
Okay.
Justice for me.
Anyways, we'll see. We'll see if we can adjust that, old school Dave.
Yep.
Well,
Jules
so if
teaching
you
me
want
about that.
my plug, if you want to have your spot on this podcast, you can do so. It's $15 and you'll have a 15-second spot. So you can just contact the Seeker at info@theseeker.ca and we'll hook you up.
Oh, and I have some huge news.
You do.
It's not huge news. I'm messing around, but it is news. You'll see here. My LED lights are gone because they stopped working because I broke them, but I'm getting new ones. So my setup is going to look cool again.
Okay, that's cool.
Huge news, right?
Yep. Huge. All right, guys. So thank you for watching. Hope to see you again next week. If there's any movies that you would like us to review, please send us an email and we'll watch it and review it. Or if you have topics that you would like us to discuss, just send it over.
If it's a movie I know is going to be terrible, I might not watch it. Just saying, guys.
All right. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you for watching.
Bye.
That's ISO?
Rack it up, I got a bit of the bank to make me a safe house. Shake it up, she got her hands on her knees and she bringing the cake out.